This video is the second video for developing the unit circle. And in the first video, we worked through how to get these ordered pairs using Pythagorean theorem, solving for A, and ultimately getting these two coordinates. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about we're not going to use Pythagorean theorem so much, but we are going to see, hopefully see a relationship of what's going on with the triangles and the radian measurements. So for example, if this is 30 degrees on our unit circle, again, the big circle that we've been dealing with, then if I draw the triangle that extends out there, this would be 30 degrees because that's what that's saying. From here to there is 30 degrees, which would mean that this is 60 degrees. 30 plus 60 would give us 90, plus the other 90 would give us 180. Now again, our goal is to figure out what is this ordered pair. If we have this point here, we want to figure out the XY ordered pair that falls on our unit circle. And in class, what we said is, again, we're still on the unit circle, so that means our radius is still going to be 1. And instead of developing the other sides, I just gave students those other sides. So this longer side is going to be the square root of 3 over 2, and this short dotted line side would be 1/2. Anytime if you need to pause, rewind, please feel free to do so, so that you can write down what you need to. Now what this means is if I go here and to the right, that's going to be my x value. So here, that's our x coordinate. It is going to be the square root of 3 over 2. And our y coordinate is telling us how far up we need to go. And so that would be 1/2. So this is our ordered pair, square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2. And so on our unit circle at 30 degrees or pi over 6, the ordered pair is going to be square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2. Now, let's talk about sine and cosine. So if I were to say sine of 30 degrees, well, if I'm looking at sine here, hopefully you can remember SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. If we look at 30, sine is going to be our opposite over hypotenuse. That's what this stands for, opposite over hypotenuse. If I'm looking at 30 degrees, the opposite side of 30 degrees is going to be 1/2. So I can write this as 1/2 over the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 1, so what we're thinking about that is over 1. And what we talked about in class is, if we're talking about over, we're really talking about division. So we have 1/2 divided by 1. But anything divided by 1 is itself. So this just becomes 1/2. 1/2 divided by 1, just 1/2. Similarly, we could find cosine of 30 degrees adjacent over hypotenuse. So if I'm at 30 degrees, the adjacent side is going to be the square root of 3 over 2 over the hypotenuse, which means that cosine of 30 degrees, again, anything divided by 1 is itself. So we have square root of 3 over 2. Now the goal here was to say, hey, we have square root of 3 over 2 here and here. We have 1/2 here and here. And what's happening here is this is true. And if we look at the ordered pair, the 1/2 is the y coordinate. And so what's happening is anytime we have a coordinate pair on our unit circle, the y is going to tell us the sine value. Similarly, if we look at square root of 3 over 2 here, it's also our x coordinate, which means anytime we have an ordered pair on our unit circle, cosine is going to be the x coordinate every single time. And that's really helpful because now, as we develop the rest of the unit circle, we can see x and y. We don't have to develop a triangle every time. We can just get the ordered pairs. Notice, hey, cosine is going to be the x value, sine the y value. And that's really helpful. I'm going to keep going to the back side of the page. If you have questions, if you need to pause, rewind, please do so. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me about that in class. But I'm going to keep going. So now let's talk about 60 degrees. So here, let's say this is a 60-degree angle. Oh, sorry. Then that means that this is 30. If that's 30, then I'm going to go back to the previous page, or back to the front side. Then what's happening is we have the exact same triangle here. A 30 degree, a 60 degree, and a 90 degree. Here we have a 30 degree, 60 degree, and a 90 degree. So on the previous page, our triangle looked like this. It's the exact same triangle, but now this side is 1/2 because that side is here, and this side is our long side here, which now means that our ordered pair is going to be 1/2 comma square root of 3 over 2. So what we did is we developed all of the ordered pairs in our first quadrant. We said that at 60 degrees is going to be 1/2 comma square root of 3 over 2. At 45 degrees, it's going to be square root of 2 over 2 comma square root of 2 over 2. And at 30 degrees, this exact same coordinate but flipped. Square root of 3 over 2 comma 1/2. And this is really helpful. In class, we developed the rest of the unit circle. It's going to be posted in my room basically for the rest of the year. So if you missed that day, please come in, make sure that you copy that unit circle down so that you have that to access on homework and studying, all those things. But this is really helpful if you have the unit circle, or if you want to Google it, pause and Google it. It's really helpful because now we can find these values really quickly. So for example, if I want to find sine of 7 pi over 6, what I do is I go to 7 pi over 6 on my unit circle, and I look at the ordered pair. At 7 pi over 6, the ordered pair is negative square root of 3 over 2 comma negative 1/2. But sine is always the y coordinate. Cosine is always the x coordinate. So if this is my ordered pair, sine is y, which means it's negative 1/2. And that's all I do. Similarly, for 3 pi over 2, the coordinate at 3 pi over 2 is 0 comma negative 1. Cosine is always the x value, and so cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. And we could keep doing that for the other functions, but we really didn't have time for that in most classes. This is typically where we stopped. But it's really great because now if we have a radian measure that falls on our unit circle, we don't have to draw triangles. We can just look and see the x or y coordinate, and that'll tell us the cosine or sine value. If you haven't been to class, I would highly recommend Googling a unit circle. There's plenty of those out there. Just look at the images on that. If you have, or if you are coming to class, the unit circle will be posted, so you can copy that down and ask questions if you have them. As always, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll be happy to answer those to help you fully understand and better understand what's happening here, if you have questions.